Welcome to the Blender Mechanic. Today we'll be doing a tutorial on making a tool, a piece, or an item of a component in a vehicle using some modifiers. In this case, what we'll be designing is a slack adjuster. It's an item part of a brake pod that operates your brake pads in a drum brake setup, as well as you have your hydraulic systems as well. So in this case, in a drum brake setup. So we'll be making that component using tools with modifiers applied to them. In this case, the Boolean Modifier, just to simplify the design of the 3D model. So what we'll do is we'll start with Blender. The beginning page here, we've got 2.77, the latest version. And we've got a 3D box. I'm gonna get rid of this. I just stir it up. Gonna go X, delete this, and I'm gonna put it in this front orthographic view. So hit 1 and then 5. Alright. So before I design my 3D model, I'm gonna actually find a background picture to follow, so that I can keep within the boundaries in the design and the molding of a slack adjuster. So what we'll do is we're gonna quickly go to our Google page here, and we're gonna find a slack adjuster image. So slack adjuster, and images. Pull this up over here, expand that. I'll just go with this one here, would be good enough. And I am going to download it to my desktop, and that's where we will upload it on. It's back onto a Blender as a background. So save picture as. I'm just going to go to my desktop over here. I'm going to save it as a .bmp file, just because it's friendlier when it comes to uploading to Blender. I'm gonna just call it a slack adjuster, like so. Save it and come back here to Blender. So now we'll pull up our side panel here so we can access our background images, which, as you see, is down here. Now to pull up this panel, this one here, you hit N, and again N to make it go away. So we've got N here. Go to background, make sure you check that box so it shows your images. Go to add images. Then here you find the open file folder button. It will take you right to your computer folders. I'm gonna go to desktop, and I'm gonna go find my slack adjuster, which is down here. Now if you have tons of files and you can't really find it, you want to make it easier on the eyes, you can hit this thumbnails, so it expands it and enlarges your folders that you got there. So here we have our slack adjuster. I'm going to go open images. There we go. Now I'm going to start molding and designing my 3D model. So I'll start my center roughly around here. I'm going to hit Shift A to bring up this panel, where we'll find our cube. Select cube, go right away into edit mode, and I'm gonna right away subdivide it a couple of times. This is good enough. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit, so hit G and Z, so we have it down there roughly. Actually, maybe it was good where it was. We're gonna scale it on the x-axis. Let's bring it up a little bit, GZ to bring it up somewhere around here, and then scale it on the x-axis so we have it filled up like that. Now, very importantly, when selecting vertices, and you want it to select the vertices at the back of the object, not just the front, as you can see, the ones we've selected right now, when I hit B and then drag my mouse button over it, I've got only the front vertices selected, but I want to make changes to everything, the whole square here. So how you do that is you deselect them, you make sure you've got your button here, your limit selection selected, so it is highlighted like that. Now when you go and you select these vertices, it selects all of them. That's what we want, so we want to make changes to all of them. So now I'm set. I'm gonna go select these ones, hit GZ. I'm gonna mold it down a little bit here. Now mind you, this is gonna be a crude 3D model. The purpose here is to show you the ease of using the Boolean modifier to help design your tools, your models. Gonna go GZ again here, kind of round it, and now we'll select all these, GZ, scale it, pull it up, select the inner vertices, GZ. Very simple model, very easy though too. I'm gonna select these, extrude them on the Z axis. So hit Z to extrude, scale it down a little bit on the X axis, extrude again on the Z axis, same vertices, scale it down on the X axis, SX, extrude it, EZ, and lastly scale it down on the X axis like so. And there we have a simplified slack adjuster here. I can get out of edit mode here. As you can see, we have it now in object mode. I'm gonna make this slack adjuster a little skinnier, so I'm gonna go scale on the Y axis, SY, and that should do the trick. Alright, okay, so slack adjuster. So roughly the shape of our background over there. This is good enough. Now our tools that we're going to use, we will be designing, so we want to punch in holes here, 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 and here. If I go into wireframe by hitting Z, you see we've got one big hole, this is the spline, and then we've got a couple more holes that go right through the slack adjuster. Now an easy way to make those holes is by using the Boolean modifier. Now first, our tool to make that, we're going to simply use a I'm going to hit Shift A and simply select the cylinder. I'm going to go out of wireframe, so hit Z again. I'm going to rotate this one on the X axis so that I can see the front face of it. So rotate R, and then the axis you want to rotate it on, in this case X, and then you can just type in 90 degrees and it rotates it by 90 degrees. I'll scale it down a little bit. Actually, before I scale it, let me put it back into wireframe. I'm gonna move it down GZ to roughly where this hole is, and then GX to there, GZ a little bit. Now for some fine tuning here, if you need to move it just a little bit, instead of using the mouse and having this, sensitivity on the mouse, just use your arrow buttons once you've selected, and you can go up or down by a little bit. So in this case, I'm going to go like that. My x-axis is fine. I'm going to scale it down a little bit, so S, and then I can use the arrow to shrink it in a little bit. In this case, the left pointing arrow, and that should be good enough. So hit enter and get out of wireframe, so Z again. Now as you can tell, this object, this tool punch hole punch that I got is the same color as my slack adjuster. It's going to be hard for me to see it once I deselect it, so I'm going to put a color to it. So we'll go to this material tab, this material button over here. I'm going to hit new for new color. I'm not even going to word it just now. I'm just having the two objects, so it's not really important. Hit this diffuse bar and find a color. I'm going to make it nice and red. It stands out like crazy. There we go. Now, to make sure our hole puncher goes all the way through to the slack adjuster, I'm going to scale it on the y-axis just to make it larger. Definitely is all the way through, so perfect. And deselect it. Now, the way the Boolean modifier works, you have to apply it to the one that's being modified. In this case, the hole that's going to be cut out is going to be cut out of the slack adjuster. So I'm going to select the slack adjuster, go to my modifier button over here, select it, expand this drop down box and find Boolean Modifier, which is right there. Now there's a couple of settings. Here you'll go down to find the type of change you want to make. Now there's 3 different types. I'm going to use difference. Essentially what that does is it removes vertices from the object being modified. Union, it adds vertices, so essentially the cylinder will be added as a one object to the slack adjuster. There'll be one object, they'll be unified. And then union or then intersect keeps a part of the mesh that intersects with the other selected object. I'm going to go with difference because I want to cut out a hole. Now in this box you select your tool, essentially the one that will be doing the changing, and my tool, my hole puncher, is cylinder. Actually what I'll do is let me name the tool so we can distinguish. So hole puncher, that's what we've called it. Go back to modify and okay, I named the wrong one here. I named the slack adjuster, so we're gonna name it slack adjuster. I gotta select my cylinder and then call it hole puncher. Enter. Go back to my object, my slack adjuster. Go to the modifier and just clear that so you can see what it looks like. Select that, and now you see I get my hole puncher in there, my tool that I want to use. Okay, so pretty much we're done. Hit apply, and now I'm just gonna go back in front view. I'm gonna move this up, GZ, and see, voila, there's my hole. See, perfect. Now let's go back in wireframe. I'm gonna do the other holes quickly here using the same approach. I'm gonna scale my tool down, use the same tool, why not? Actually, I'm not gonna keep the line, I'm gonna keep the same line here so we don't veer off center. Again, this picture in the background is a little to the side. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. In fact, I actually will remove it. To remove your background picture, or so it doesn't obscure your object whilst designing, if you're done using it, you can go back to your background image side tab here, your panel here, and you can simply just, for this particular image that we've uploaded, hit this little I button and it will make it disappear, and there it's gone. Okay, so now we can work without any, actually we'll still need it really, and the reason is we want to know where our holes are, so we'll keep it there for now. We'll move it afterwards, but that's how you can do that. Okay, so wireframe, I got it roughly in there. I'm gonna go back to go out of wireframe, so hit Z again. I'm gonna make sure my tool, my hole puncher, goes all the way through, which it does, but I'm gonna just play it safe and scale it on the y-axis, S, Y. Make sure it's all the way through, which it is. Go back to the object needing to be modified. Go into my modifiers button here, panel, and select the drop down box, hit Boolean, and just do it all over again. Difference, find my tool, apply, done. Select my tool, go in and move it just up, just make sure we have a hole in there. We do. Go into wireframe, line it up, so GZ. Alright, now go out of wireframe, deselect that, select the one that's getting modified, the slack adjuster here. Again, find the Boolean modifier, find difference. Mind you, I find it easier doing it in this order as opposed to selecting the object and then your setting. Blender sometimes is a little touchy depending on how you do things, so just from my experience how I've done this, it's better to select this first, then your object. So there we go. Make sure it's all the way through. It is. Apply. Go in front, orthographic view. And now select it. Go to the last one. Make sure the hole is in there. It is. So now I can go into wireframe. GZ. Line it up a little higher there. Excellent. Go out of wireframe by hitting Z again. Select your object to be modified. Go to your modifiers tab, and there we find the Boolean modifier, difference, object, hole puncher, apply. And that's how easy it is. Move this away, G, X, and see we have our slack adjuster with the holes in them. Quick and easy way of doing it, as opposed to selecting versus of the other methods out there to punch holes. Okay, so this is the first tutorial. Like I said, we'll be designing a brake pod and then our brake drums and our brake assembly in the hardware. This is one piece. We'll be using this tool, this Boolean modifier, hole puncher, a couple of times, and it's gonna go through. It's like a tool in the shop, in your toolbox. Very useful. Keep using it over and making life just a lot easier. So this is Blender Mechanic signing out again. Please subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them for me in the section below there, and we will see you again.